So you are not going to hear this everywhere else that you're tuning on after the Kavanaugh confirmation. You are hearing, oh, now it's a civil war. Now now the blue wave, the red wave, this and that. See, I have this saying that I don't know if you know Damon Runyon. He wrote these wonderful stories about mobsters. They made them into the musical Guys and Dolls. Damon Runyon didn't say this, but he couldn't. I always say the future is what happened. The future is what hasn't happened yet that we don't know what it is. And I think we don't know any of this stuff. What we do know is that this is a tremendous victory. And if you can't pause for a minute and take a breath and say, wow, great country, this America, you can win these victories still against the mob. If you can't do that, what are you fighting for? If you're not going to enjoy the moments of victory, what are you fighting for? We are fighting to preserve this country. And more important than Kavanaugh, and more important than anything about, everybody says this is all about abortion. It's not all about abortion. Abortion is about the Constitution. Abortion is about the Constitution. It's not about the outcomes of that happen in the Supreme Court. It is about who is to rule us. I say us and our representatives. The left says 5 people in the Supreme Court can just make a ruling and rewrite the Constitution like that. And it's about the rule of law and due process triumphing over the mob. It really is. They really did take the very legitimate complaints of the Me Too movement, the very legitimate complaints about women and how they are treated in workplaces where there are powerful men without consciences. They took those legitimate complaints and they weaponized them to take people's freedom. They weaponize the pain to turn it into hysteria to take people's freedom. And it's done on purpose, and it's done by our old friend, George Soros. A woman, Asra Q. Nomani, a former Wall Street Journal reporter who is a leftist, feminist, pro-abortion person who used to be a reporter for the Wall Street Journal. She has been following the resistance money. Why? Because she's also a reporter. You don't find those too much anymore, but she is a reporter, and she's been following the money, and she's organized her findings into a spreadsheet, which you can get online. At least 50 of the largest organizations that participated as partners in the Women's March received grants from Mr. Soros's Open Society Foundation. He's the guy who does not believe America should have its own sovereignty. He believes that we are the biggest stumbling block to a better world. He has said that he has a messiah complex. He has said he thinks he's a god. And all of this money, the number of Soros-backed partners has grown to at least 80. At least 20 of the largest groups that led the Saturday anti-Kavanaugh protests have been Open Society grantees. And why don't they cover it? This is the best part. She says, I've pieced this together. It's an open secret, but one that journalists avoid. Why? She says many sympathize with the liberal causes, Open Society champions, and some have been paid Open Society fellows or grantees. And this is what the Open Society turns you into. Show that protest where they were beating on the door of the Supreme Court. Here they are. These people went and after the confirmation vote, they started attacking the door of the Supreme Court. It looks like a scene out of Night of the Living Dead. It's Night of the Living Left or Night of the Living Brain Dead or something. It's like they just look like zombies. They turn people into. And that's what this is why. And let me just point out one thing. When we're talking about due process and they say, well, there's Daily Caller had a thing where they went out and interviewed some of these protesters about whether they should get due process. Play that for a minute.
Yes, innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Yeah, but not in this case.
Not in this case.
Yeah. Like, innocent until proven guilty apply here.
I want to believe it, but his behavior is kind of contrary to that.
I feel like it would have been fine if they actually went through with the investigation, but now they're kind of leaving it in the hands of the public.
Proven guilty, does that apply here or no?
But see, the thing is, it's not about innocent or proven guilty. It's about he will not stay still long enough and take responsibility for what has happened already. And it's not, and when the Senate refuses to allow the FBI to investigate him, then it's just sham. It's a total freaking sham.
They're letting him be innocent to proven guilty. What about not the board?
Right.
I mean, hello, there's 2 people involved here. Why isn't she extended the same rights and privileges and courtesy that he's been given?
Do you think that Kavanaugh deserves due process, or is this different from
he don't need to be in this.
You know, it's frightening, right? It's frightening. They're getting rid of due process and the presumption of innocence. And one of the arguments as well, it's not a court of law, it's a job interview. Let me tell a very quick Hollywood story, all right? In Hollywood, Mira Sorvino, a terrific, beautiful actress, one that I think she has an Oscar and a Golden Globe, she got chased around the room by Harvey Weinstein. So what did Harvey Weinstein do? When Peter Jackson was trying to cast Lord of the Rings, a very big movie, right? A very important part for an actress to get. He was looking at Mira Sorvino. He was looking at Ashley Judd, who also got chased around the room by Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein's people call up Jackson and say, oh, you know, these actresses are really, really tough to work with. They are terrible, terrible people. So he didn't hire them. He didn't hire them. Didn't they deserve the presumption of innocence? I'm not blaming Jackson. He got conned and he really regretted it. He was really sorry about it. But didn't they deserve the presumption of innocence, even in a job interview? Why? Because anybody can say anything about anyone. Your ex-husband, your ex-wife can show up and just slander you in any situation, ruin your life. You always, the accused, not the accuser, gets the presumption of innocence. And you do not want, and that's why this is such a victory. And this is why you have to pause for a minute and say, whoa, what a great country. What a country. And the people were genuinely heroic. So these people were genuinely heroes. And a lot of times we think a hero looks like this, basically.
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
But it turns out a hero really looks like this, cut 6.
Well, nothing is irreparably damaged. This has been a nasty process, initiated in the beginning by Senate Judiciary Democrats and then carried over into the public. We've literally been under assault here by a mob that's going to our homes, brushing up against us in the halls, requiring enhanced security. But look, the good news is the mob didn't win. Justice will be done. We protected the presumption of innocence in this country. It applies in all walks of life and certainly in Supreme Court confirmations.
Cocaine, Mitch. You know, you said that after Christine Blasey Ford testified, he called up Trump and said, that it's only halftime. We got to stay the course and everything. He was very strong about it. And he told him, I'm stronger than mule's piss on this man. He said, I figured, well, lay off the coke, Mitch. But no, really, who would think that this guy with this very narrow emotional range, as you would say, who looks like that, he's the hero, and we've picked on him. A lot of people, I haven't because I always understood this, but like a lot of people on the right have picked on him because when you're in an organization like that and you're wrangling 50 senators, all of whom have enormous egos, all of whom are excellent politicians, or they wouldn't be, the U.S. senators. It's hard to get everything done, but he has committed himself to these judges. He's got 26 circuit federal court judges. He has done a tremendous job. I have to give a little bit of a nod to Flake. I really picked on Flake when he caved in after the Soros women went after him in the elevator. But he stuck to his guns. He did the right thing. He said I want to hear the FBI report, and that did actually convince a lot of people, one of whom was another of the heroes here, was Susan Collins. And all we've heard about is, women, you have to listen to women, you have to believe women. But that's not what they're saying. What they're saying is you have to listen to leftists. And if the leftists are women, great. And if they're not women, we're going to take them down. And Susan Collins just spoke so clearly about why she was voting for Kavanaugh, that it really was like mommy came home. I don't think Collins actually has any children, but it was like mommy came home and found the children had gone insane and were punching each other. And it was like, everybody go to their room and think about due process. I mean, this is what the speech was like. Listen.
This debate is complicated further by the fact that the Senate confirmation process is not a trial. But certain fundamental legal principles about due process, the presumption of innocence and fairness do bear on my thinking, and I cannot abandon them.
It really was like mommy came home, like boys, gang, we got to have some due process, presumption of innocence. Kavanaugh was a hero. Kavanaugh himself was a hero because he stood up for himself. And that moment that they tried to weaponize his anger and his hurt against him, he was advised before going in, Brian McCann, I think his name is, he's the guy who organizes Trump's judge picks and has done such a great job. He said to him, show him how you feel. Show him how you feel. And he went in and he showed him. He was angry. He was hurt. He was upset. He had been slandered. He had been viciously treated. And that put some spine into the Republicans. That was a heroic thing to do. And one thing we should take away from that, especially the boys here, is like, stand up for yourself. Don't let them tell you, oh, just stay down, keep your head down. Don't let them attack you. You know, people have paid a lot higher prices for freedom than just being attacked on Twitter, than just being attacked by your friends, by just, getting bad grades in school from an unkind and dishonest leftist professor. People have paid higher prices than that. Kavanaugh did the right thing. That was heroic. And another guy who I have to tell you, is really hard for me to call this guy a hero for a lot of reasons, and I'll tell you some of them, but Trump was a hero. Donald Trump. When you charge over a hill, and you're running into gunfire, you don't know who the guy next to you is. The guy next to you may be a bad guy. He may cheat on his wife. He may embezzle money. But in that moment, he may be doing the heroic thing. And Donald Trump, I'm not sure how many Republican presidents would have stood by this guy in the hour of need. Now, I'm sure that McConnell stiffened his spine when it was needed, but still, we know Trump is a fighter. We know he is a belligerent. We know he will not back down, and he didn't back down. It would have been a lot easier for him. A lot of people were saying it would have been a lot easier for him to say, all right, you don't like this candidate, but the principle mattered. The principle was everything. More important than Kavanaugh himself is the principle. Let's listen to Trump selling it.
You don't hand matches to an arsonist, and you don't give power to an angry left-wing mob, and that's what they've become. The Democrats have become too extreme and too dangerous to govern. Republicans believe in the rule of law, not the rule of the mob.
Good for President Donald. It is time to just stop for a minute and remember this is still a country with heroes in it. This is still a country with principles. It's still a country that stands fast, even in the face of the mob. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Tomorrow, the battle starts again. Now the battle starts again. The election is coming. But for a moment, you've got to take a breath and remember, this is a beautiful thing.